How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, December 19th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an elite individual profile for Karim Benzema. The elite French striker turns 34 today, and my intention with this episode is, of course, to focus on the stats and numbers that actually got him to where he is, but at the same time, looking at his accomplishments, his achievements, his accolades, and also the amount of trophies that he's won, being one of the greatest international strikers to play the game. Just considering how tough it is to land the starting striker gig at a club like Real Madrid, and especially be the striker and especially like come through in the big games where you're expected to, and definitely show Karim Benzema, ever since he's gotten to that stage, has shown why he's world class and why even in his mid-30s he is still recognized as one of the best players in soccer and definitely one of the most feared goal scorers in the game. So if you're unfamiliar with Karim Benzema, he stands at about 6'1", so he's a pretty tall striker, so I mean that's good for headers. He's incredibly controlled. He has a lot of skill and a lot of finesse with what he does. I don't think Karim Benzema gets enough credit for his overall impact to this team, considering most of the time that he's been on Real Madrid, he's played with a lot of the best other players in the world. That's what Real Madrid is. But of course, when you focus in on Karim Benzema, I think it's pretty easy to understand that a lot of the teams that he plays on, they do not score that many goals. Like that, plain and simple, if Karim Benzema does not play for France. So, getting right back into his career, he was originally born in Lyon. He would find himself playing for the Olympique Lyonnais youth team for almost a decade. He would first get called up to play for Lyonnais in his age 16 season in 2004-2005. In that season, he would start one of the 6 matchups he played for a Lyon team that would actually go all the way and win Ligue 1. They made it all the way to the quarterfinals of Champions League in 2004-2005, as in the round of 16, they would eventually find themselves losing in this. They found themselves beating Werder Bremen in the round of 16, but they actually ended up losing to PSV Eindhoven from Belgium. But in the 6 matchups that he would go on to play in that season, Karim Benzema didn't necessarily score, but the fact that he was on the field getting a little bit, at least getting that exercise, getting the opportunity, I think that it definitely worked wonders for him. This would transition into his age 17 season, which was the 2005-2006 season. In Karim Benzema's age 17 season, he started 4 of the 13 games he played for a Lyonnais team that would go on to repeat as Ligue 1 champions. This was the 4th in a row that Lyonnais had actually won. This was in the midst of their incredible run, but Karim Benzema still fighting for a roster spot on one of the best teams in France, would find himself scoring a goal and 2 assists in the Ligue 1 that season. Not to mention that Lyonnais would also get knocked out in the quarterfinals in Champions League in 2005-2006. This year, they would end up losing to Milan, as Milan would eventually they would get knocked out in the semifinals, and Barcelona would eventually take Champions League that season. But still, Karim Benzema would find his way working into the lineup. So going into his 3rd season with Lyonnais, his age 18 season, he would start 13 of the 21 matchups for a Lyonnais team that ended up winning Ligue 1 for the 3rd year in a row, at least while he was there. He finished with 5 goals and 2 assists in that illustrious season. This year in 2006-2007, they would actually get knocked out of Champions League in the round of 16, as they ended up losing in that round to Lyonnais. Not to mention that earlier in that season, he would get called up to play for the French senior national team for the very first time in his career. But following his third season in Lyonnais, he would come back for his fourth season there in 2007-2008. In his age 19 season, he would start 32 of the 36 matchups he played for a Lyonnais team that would win Ligue 1. This championship in 2008 is actually the last time that Lyon has won Ligue 1. They have not won it since that year. That year they would also make it to the round of 16 in Champions League itself. Lyon would eventually lose in the round of 16 this year to Manchester United. But of course, in the Ligue 1 season, Karim Benzema would finish with 20 goals and 7 assists on the season. Taking a look at how he fared in Champions League for that particular season, he would go on to finish with 4 goals as well, as he would start to become the leading goal scorer for the team that he was trying to work his way on, at least earlier. And this was all during his age 19 season. And this would transition into his age 20 season, his fifth and final season playing in the Ligue 1. In 2008, he would go on to start 31 of the 36 matchups he played for a Lyonnais team that would end up finishing third in Ligue 1. This year, they would make it all the way to the round of 16 in Champions League as well, as this year they would end up losing to Barcelona 6-3 on aggregates after Barcelona beat Lyon 5-2 in the second round. This was the year where Barcelona went all the way to Champions League final and beat Manchester United. So Lyonnais did lose to the eventual champs. But in that 2008-2009 season, this was actually following his very first Euros appearance for France, in which they didn't even make it out the group stage. In Benzema's fifth Ligue 1 season, he would go on to finish with 17 goals and 2 assists. This would be the second time in his career in which he would go on to finish with double-digit goals. He also had 5 goals and 2 assists, the most Champions League goals he was able to score for Lyonnais. As like I said, Lyon wouldn't even make it past Real. They wouldn't even make it past Barcelona, but following the 2008-2009 season, Karim Benzema would, of course, get the call. He would get moved to Real Madrid, as he would be signed to Real Madrid off of a 35 million euro deal, essentially. And he has been the starting striker at Real Madrid since. But taking a look at Karim Benzema's progression through Real Madrid, starting from his 2009-2010 season, his age 21 season, he would start within the La Liga itself, he would start 14 of the 27 matches he played for a Real Madrid team that finished as runners-up in La Liga, I imagine, to Barcelona. Within the La Liga matchups itself, he would finish with 8 goals and 3 assists. And he would only play one Copa del Rey match in a season in which they would finish in the round of 32. In 2009-2010, they would end up losing in the round of 16 in Champions League, as they would find themselves losing to Lyon, which was Karim Benzema's former team, which was actually kind of ironic in a sense. But looking at how he fared in those 5 Champions League matches he played, he did end up with a goal and an assist. And this was right before Real Madrid signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Exactly. Actually, it was the season before they got him. Transitioning into Benzema's second season there, which was Ronaldo's first year, he would go on to start 20 of the 33 games in his age 22 season in 2010-2011 for Real Madrid. In La Liga, they would finish second, as Karim Benzema would put up 15 goals and 4 assists in the 33 matchups he played. This is the first time he scored double-digit goals in La Liga, and the third time in 4 domestic seasons in which he was able to put up double-digit goals. In addition to what he was doing in La Liga, he was also able to play 8 Champions League matches in a season in which Real Madrid would go all the way to the semifinal. They would find themselves losing at not even at the finals. They lost to Barcelona 2-1 on aggregates. So that's how that matchup fared. But within the games that he played, he was able to finish with 6 goals and an assist, setting a new career high for himself in Champions League. And I also forgot to mention that Real Madrid did go on to win the Copa del Rey. They ended up beating Barcelona 1-0 in the final, as Ronaldo would score the game-winning goal in his very first season. And the 2010-2011 Copa del Rey would be the very first title that Karim Benzema would win with Real Madrid. And of course, this would transition into 2011-2012, which would go down as Karim Benzema's third season with the team. In his age 23 season, he would start 26 of the 34 matchups in a season in which Real Madrid would win La Liga for the first time while he was there, at least in his career, following 3 straight seasons as finishing as runners-up. Within that 2011-2012 La Liga season, he finished with 21 goals and 9 assists. Both of those are the most amount of goals and assists he was able to put up in a calendar year, or within an actual scheduled year. And by then, he was establishing himself as one of the best scorers in La Liga. It's a very rare feat to score 20 goals in La Liga, no matter what team you're playing for. He would also go on to help Real Madrid finish they would end up going all the way to the quarterfinals of the Copa del Rey. He would go on to play 11 Champions League matches with 7 goals and 5 assists in a season where Real Madrid would go all the way to the semifinals again. This time, once they made it to the Champions League semifinals, they would end up losing to Bayern Munich, who ended up losing to Chelsea on penalty kicks in the Champions League final. But of course, this would be yet another year where they would be super close but no cigar. They would also end up losing in the Supercopa de España to Barcelona 5-4 on aggregate. But of course, in that season, he was able to come away with the La Liga title, which is a very tough title to win. And then in addition, or following that 2011-2012 season, Karim Benzema would, of course, go on to compete in the 2012 Euro tournament with France. They would go on to make it out of group stage after they drew with England, beat Ukraine, and lost to Sweden. In the quarterfinals, France ended up losing to Spain 2-0, and that's how they got their exit. Following that 2012 international tournament, he would come back to Real Madrid for his third season with the club. In his age 24 season in 2012-2013, Karim Benzema would start 19 of the 30 matchups he played for a Real Madrid team that would finish as runners-up in La Liga yet again. They would also finish as runners-up in the Copa del Rey final, as they ended up losing by 1 to Atletico Madrid. First, looking at how he fared in the La Liga season itself, he would go on to finish with 11 goals and 12 assists. The first time he's had more assists than goals. The only time he's actually had more, it was the first time he's had more assists than goals in his career. This would be the very first time he's finished with double-digit goals and assists in a domestic season as well. Not to mention that outside of that, he would play 10 games in a Champions League run that would see Real Madrid make it all the way to the semifinals again for the third year in a row. This year, once they made it to the semifinals, they would end up losing to Borussia Dortmund, who ended up losing to Bayern Munich in the Champions League final. So that's exactly how far they got. However, this year, they were able to win the Supercopa de España, as they ended up beating Barcelona off of aggregates, off of away goals, because it actually finished up 4-4. But following this matchup, Karim Benzema would, of course, return for his 5th season with the Real Madrid organization. In his age 25 season, he would start 34 of the 35 matches he played for a Real Madrid team that finished with the 3rd best record in La Liga. And in his 5th season there, looking at the La Liga season itself, he would finish with 17 goals and 8 assists. This would be 4 straight seasons at Real Madrid in which he's had double-digit goals, and 3 seasons in a row where he's had at least 8 assists, which is incredibly tough to do. And not only that, at least 20 goal contributions for the 3rd season in a row as well, as he's at least by that point, he was getting a lot more consistent with what he was doing. He would go on to play 6 games in Copa del Rey, adding 2 goals and an assist in a season in which Real Madrid would actually go on to win the Copa del Rey. They would beat Barcelona 2-1 in the final in order to win it. They would also go on to win Champions League for the very first time since Karim Benzema was there. And this would be the very first Champions League they had won since 2002. So, of course, this was a very big win for them, as they would go all the way to the Champions League final, and they would find themselves beating Atletico Madrid 4-1 in extra time. And considering they finished third in La Liga, the only other two competitions they actually could compete in, they went on to win. This would go on to be the very first season of the Galacticos era, as well, as that was what Real Madrid was known for when they went on their crazy run when they were winning Champions Leagues. But of course, that started right there. Following the 2013-14 season, after Real Madrid won the Champions League, he would go on to compete with France at the 2014 World Cup. Once they made it to the World Cup, he would end up scoring 2 goals for them in their group stage matchup versus Honduras, where they won that one 3-0. Their second group stage matchup, they beat Switzerland 5-2, as Benzema scored their 4th goal. They drew versus Ecuador to make it out of group stage. Once they made it to the round of 16, France beat Nigeria 2-0 before losing 1-0 to Germany in the quarterfinal. And that is actually the last time that Karim Benzema would go on to compete at the 2004 at the World Cup, as he did not compete at the 2018 World Cup. But following that World Cup stint, or that World Cup exit, he would come back to Real Madrid, looking at the 1 year in 5 years where they didn't win Champions League. We're going to look at his 6th season with Real Madrid, his 11th year as a starter at the top level. He would go on, or in his age 26 season in 2014-15, Karim Benzema would start all 29 of the matchups he played, as Real Madrid would finish as runners-up in La Liga. They would go and lose in the round of 16 of Copa del Rey in 2015. They would still go on to win the UEFA Super Cup and the FIFA Club World Cup after winning Champions League the prior year. They would lose in the Supercopa de España, as they lost 2-1 to Atletico Madrid. But also in 2014-15, they would go all the way to UEFA, to the Champions League semifinals, before they ended up losing 2-1 to Juventus on aggregate. And in the next round, Juventus would lose to Barcelona, when Barcelona had Messi, Suarez, and Neymar competing on the same team. And following that year, this would transition into Karim Benzema's 7th year with the Real Madrid organization. In his age 27 season, he would start 26 of the 27 matches he played for a Real Madrid team that would finish second in La Liga back-to-back seasons. However, in this season, they would, of course, go on to lose in the round of 32 in Champions League, or round of 32 in Copa del Rey, so they weren't able to win that trophy. The only trophy that they were able to take home in 2015-16 was the UEFA Champions League trophy. They would go all the way to the final and beat Atletico Madrid on penalty kicks. And the matchup, of course, would end 4-1. Looking at how Benzema fared in the 15-16 season, he would finish with 24 goals and 7 assists in that La Liga season. That is the most goals that he's been able to put together in a season. He still has not been able to top 24, and none of them were made with penalty kicks. He scored all of them from scrimmage in 27 games, which is one of the seasons in which he's played the least amount of games, which is his most efficient season while playing there. He also added 7 assists, which was a 5-year low for him, but that was continuing a 5-year streak in which he was able to finish with at least 7 assists, which is a lot of assists to put together in a year. Also in that year, he played 9 Champions League matchups, and he had 4 goals in the 9 Champions League matches they played, as they went all the way to the final, the end, and won. Following this 2016 Champions League win, he would go on to compete with France at the 2016 Euros. In the 2016 Euros, France would go on all the way, but they would make it out of the group stage after they beat Romania 2-1, they beat Albania 2-0, and they drew with Switzerland. In the round of 16, France beat Ireland 2-1, they beat Iceland 5-2. They would go on to beat Germany 2-0, and then they would go on to lose in the final to Portugal 1-0 in extra time. I imagine that Karim Benzema's goallessness in this tournament was a big reason as to why he was cut from the 2018 World Cup squad. But I digress, getting back into what Benzema was doing following that 2016 exit from the Euros. He would come back to Real Madrid for what would, of course, be his 8th season with the organization. In his age 28 season, he would go on to start 23 of the 29 games he played for a Real Madrid team that would win La Liga. This would be the second time that they had won La Liga since Karim Benzema had been there. Looking at how he fared in the La Liga season specifically itself, he finished with 11 goals and 5 assists, which is the least amount of goal contributions that he would have since his very first season in Real Madrid. But of course, still double-digit goals is a lot of goals. Double-digit goals is a crazy feat to accomplish in La Liga. And this would be the 7th consecutive year in which he put together double-digit goals in La Liga. Looking outside of that, he was also able to play 3 games in a Copa del Rey run that would see Real Madrid lose in the quarterfinals. However, following their last Champions League, they would go on to win the UEFA Super Cup over Sevilla going into this league. They won the FIFA Club World Cup, but then also in 2016-17, they would go on to win Champions League for the 2nd year in a row and for the 3rd time in a 4-year span. As this year, they would go on to beat Juventus, and this would be I think this was about the year where they cemented their name as the Galacticos, as Cristiano Ronaldo was the leading scorer yet again. Following this 2016-17 season, or not to mention, and then also forgot to mention that in that Champions League run, Benzema played 13 matches and he finished with 5 goals in that season. Following the 2016-17 season, he would come back for yet another run with the Galacticos in his 9th season with the team. In his age 29 season in 2017-18, Karim Benzema would start 25 of the 32 La Liga matchups he played in a season where Real Madrid would finish as the 3rd best team in La Liga. In La Liga itself, he would finish with 5 goals and 10 assists. Real Madrid would go on to lose in the quarterfinals of Copa del Rey, as Karim Benzema would finish with a goal in the one Copa del Rey matchup he played in. Real Madrid would also go on to win the UEFA Super Cup that year after they beat Man U, because Man U had won the Europa League that season prior. They would go on to win the Supercopa de España over Barcelona 5-0 on aggregates. They would win the FIFA Club World Cup, and the trophy that they would build towards in 2017-18 was yet another Champions League title, as they would go all the way to the final to beat Liverpool 3-1 in that final. Very big game for Real Madrid, as Karim Benzema had the very first goal of that matchup. And following that 2017-18 run, this is the last time that Karim Benzema has won Champions League. This is the last time that Real Madrid had won Champions League, and this cemented a 5-year window in which they won 4 Champions Leagues. Following that 2017-18 season, Cristiano Ronaldo would leave Real Madrid and join Juventus, making Karim Benzema the go-to scorer, and many people worried that Real Madrid's scoring would, or that their production as a team, as an organization, would fall off. But it wouldn't, as much as many people would thought. And I guess following that 2017-18 season, he did not compete with France at the World Cup. He would come back to Real Madrid for what would be his 10th season with the organization. In his age 30 season in 2018-2019, Karim Benzema would start 35 of the 36 matchups he would play in a season where Real Madrid finished with the 3rd best record in La Liga. In La Liga specifically, he finished with 21 goals and 6 assists. This would be the 3rd time in his career in which he's finished with 20 La Liga goals, and this would be the 4th time he's finished with 20 goals at a domestic league. And he also did it alongside 6 assists, which is the least amount of assists he's ever had in a season where he scored 20 goals, even to date. Looking at what he was able to do outside of that season, He went on to play 6 matchups in a Copa del Rey run that saw Real Madrid go all the way to the semifinals before they were knocked out. They still haven't won the Copa del Rey title since 2014. Looking at how he fared in Champions League, he would go on to play 8 matchups in a run that saw Real Madrid get knocked out in the round of 16. This year, they would end up getting knocked out by Juventus, or they would end up getting knocked out by Ajax the year after they had won their 3rd Champions League in a row. But in the Champions League, in the 8 matchups he played, Karim Benzema finished with 4 goals and 2 assists as he did his best to help them out. In 2018-19, they would go on to win the FIFA Club World Cup as they finished up runners-up in the Super Cup to Atletico Madrid. But following that 2018-19 season, in which Karim Benzema still showed that he was consistently one of the best goal scorers in the world, he would come back to Real Madrid for his 11th season with the organization and his 16th season being a full-time or being a senior-level player. In his age 31 season in 2019-2020, he would start 36 of the 37 matchups he played for a Real Madrid team that would come back from being the 3rd team in La Liga and actually winning in their second year without Ronaldo. In the 37 matchups he played in La Liga, he would go on to have 21 goals and 8 assists, which is exactly the amount of goals and assists he had the first time he won La Liga back in 2011-2012. Those 29 goal contributions are still sitting amongst the best, the second most he's ever put together, except for his 2016 season where he had 24 and 7. That was at least up until that date in 2019-2020. In addition to La Liga, he would go on to play 3 matchups in a Copa del Rey run that saw Real Madrid lose in the quarterfinals. They would go on to win the Supercopa de España, however, as they did go all the way to the final to beat Atletico Madrid on penalties. And then following that, they made it all the way to the Champions League knockout round, where they were knocked out in the round of 16 for the 2nd year in a row by Manchester City. And also some more context added. This is also the season that was heavily affected by COVID, where it had to delay the end of the season, and they really had to shorten they had to shorten the Champions League season as well. But regardless, Karim Benzema and Real Madrid were still able to win a couple of titles from that season. And of course, this would transition to the last full season that Karim Benzema was able to play. His age 32 season in his 12th season with Real Madrid in 2020-2021. He would start 33 of the 34 matchups in a season where Real Madrid would finish runners-up to Atletico Madrid. In the 34 matchups he played, he finished with 23 goals and 9 assists. His 32 goal contributions in 2021 are actually the most goal contributions he's ever put together in a season, as his 9 assists are the most assists he's ever put up in a season in which he scored 20 goals. And his 23 goals are the second most he's been able to put up in his entire career as well. So just to give a little bit of context on what he was doing there, especially within La Liga. When he only played 1 matchup in Copa del Rey, as Barcelona ended up losing in the round of 32. This is the very first year that Barcelona hadn't won a trophy in a season since 2009-2010, which was Karim Benzema's very first season there. So, of course, didn't have a lot going for him there. In Champions League, he would go on to play 10 matches in a run that saw Real Madrid lose all the way in the semifinals, as they found themselves losing to as Real Madrid actually lost to Chelsea, but they were incredibly close. In those 10 matches, Karim Benzema finished with 6 goals. And then following that season in which Real Madrid did not win a trophy, he would compete with France for the 2020 Euros, which got delayed a year because of COVID. He would play 4 matchups and finish with 4 goals, as France would get knocked out in the round of 16. In their first matchup, they would beat Germany 1-0. They would draw 1-1 with Hungary. Karim Benzema wouldn't score until their third group stage matchup in their 2-2 draw versus Portugal, where Benzema scored both goals. In their round of 16 matchup, they would end up losing to Switzerland 4-5 on penalty kicks. the actual game itself went 3-3 as Benzema scored the very first 2 goals of this matchup. But following France's early exit, this would lead into this current season where we are now, where Karim Benzema still is putting up 15 goals and 7 assists, where it looks like he is on pace to possibly put together one of his best scoring and assisting years in Real Madrid history. And this is his 13th year with the club. So it'll be very interesting to see what Karim Benzema does over this next calendar year, as by the time we get to where next year, he'll probably be going into knockout stages just as well. With that said, I want to first thank the Pro Football Reference, Footy Stats, and all the other soccer websites that I needed in order to find the facts and figures in order to do this, because I wouldn't be able to do this without them. I do want to thank everybody for listening to all 31 minutes of this piece. I do hope all is well. If you ever get a chance to watch Karim Benzema, he is the number 9 for Real Madrid, and I'm not sure if he's the number 9 for France, but he's definitely on the French team now. He is one of the best, most complete all-around strikers that the game has seen, considering how many people think that they can score a soccer ball on this planet. And I do think that when it's all said and done, Karim Benzema will be remembered for consistently being one of the best soccer players to ever touch a ball. With that said, thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Monday, December 20th for another episode. So until then, thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.